Hey everyone, it's Evelyn, and we're now into May. I'm almost sold out of all of my bulbs, might be by the time you see this. I'm filming this on Wednesday, you're seeing this on Saturday. And that means it's time to get my bouquet making station ready to go. I don't actually have flowers to make bouquets yet, but I should shortly, and I need the station ASAP set up. So what I'm going to do is go over my layout from last year, which I loved, except it needs a few tweaks. Now, where I'm standing right now, you might recall this as my hardening off station here. So you can see I've got the Rubbermaid cart there with, actually I've got my tomatoes, all of my zucchinis, and some second rounds of anemones going for selling. If I tip this way, here you can see the two bird net cages that I use for hardening off stuff. And if I tip even further, you can see, here's my garden. There's the candy tuft blooming away. However, if I tip this way, and you look into that dark space in there, behind where I've got some things hardening off, that's where the bouquet making station is. So I'm going to flip you around. Whoops, I'm going to like scoot down so you can see me. I'm going to flip you around and take you in there and go over how it's laid out, which is laid up from last year, and why I need to tweak a few things. So let's spin you around. All right, as we walk past the Rubbermaid cart and past these are sunflower seedlings that are going to get planted out today after I finish filming. These are my cosmos, which are not going to get planted out because I still have to divide them. And the reason for that is, I'll just scoot you down here quickly. This has nothing to do with the bouquet making station, but you know, got to digress. Here's where all my alliums are, clearly not blooming yet. This is where the cosmos are going to go. So all the alliums have to go through their cycle and their leaves have to die off before I can plant the cosmos. So they have to get potted up. Well, I'm just going to show you quickly over here. Look what's started to bloom in this location. My caramel anemones. None of the others, just the caramel anemones. So they're really early. Now if I put my hand down here, you can see how, here's my arm. You can see how long that stem is. It's past my elbow. So that's long enough for a bouquet. So that's excellent, but I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So not quite enough to make a bouquet out of. Anyway, totally digressing on that. So let's get back up to here. And here's my snapdragons, second round of snapdragons, ready to plant out after, not today, but probably tomorrow. I'll get the sunflowers done today, and tomorrow I'll get all the snapdragons in the bed. So then, as you walk into here, because I got lights on, it's actually a lot lighter than it looked when you were standing in the sun. So my cement mixer that I found on the beach that I was using in the seed room when I was filling seed trays with soil is now out here in the bouquet making station, which is set up like a U. Because when I cut bouquets, when I have slough off on here, like if I take this rag and pretend that's slough off from the bouquet, I can just push it off the end of the table and it ends up in there. And then once a week when I do my direct composting, that can all go, everything that's collected in there can go in the hole with the direct composting. Now this first table, this is where I put the bouquet together. These two flower buckets, one has a single, one has a double. They're for the flower wagon, and the double holds 2 bouquets, and the single holds one bouquet, pardon me. And depending on how much I have to put out, 1 or 2, depends which bucket I'll put out. I never put more than 2 out at a time. The third one can just sit singularly in here in the shade where it's cooler. So if I sell one, then I can bring it out to the flower wagon at that time. At the end of this table over here, I have my little, you know, sweeping the debris off and down into the cement mixer. I've got my pruners, which I haven't sharpened yet this year, so I got to get that done. A couple pairs of scissors, same thing, got to get those sharpened. Underneath the table here, nothing to do with bouquets, but I have some mints that I decided I didn't want because I tested them out for tea and I don't like them. So I put them in here over the winter to dry out before I added the soil back into my direct composting. And look at this. After one winter of getting not watered at all, this is apple mint. So that's just a little lesson. If you've got mints, wait until you're 100% sure they're dead before you use the soil again. And that's what I'm waiting to do, and clearly it's not. So they're not. None of this is going to get, well, some of these might, if nothing grows out of these. So far, it doesn't appear that anything is. But I have to be 100% sure before any of that soil goes back into the compost. Whose feet are those? Is that an Esri dog looking up at the table because she put a ball up there? All right, let's get the ball. There you go. Not much of a throw. So that's this first table. This is exactly where I make the bouquets. So this is where I stand. I can look out this way if I want to, just, you know, somebody's walking by or whatever, slough the stuff off, put the bouquets in here. What I have here, just believe it or not, is an old mantle from a house that I just use as a thin countertop spanning this distance. It sits on this table and it sits on that table. Now what I have here is I can have more flower buckets, and then I have a lot of these milk cartons with the tops cut off. And what this is for is after I've harvested flowers in the morning, I divide them by the type of flower they are, and they go into these pots. Now some of the flowers I'll only have a few of, so there'll only be a few, like for instance, if I only have 6 caramel white anemones like I do in the garden, they only need to sit in that. But that way I can keep all the different types of flowers separate. And they span along here, down here, which is not where these go actually. 2 of these sit at the end of this table, and the third one sits under the table. And those are my harvesting buckets. That's what I take into the back and front gardens to the flower beds to cut the flowers. And then when I come in here, I separate them out and put them into these. I have lots more of those. In case I have like tons and tons of flowers, I can just do those buckets. I actually, a florist who went out of business, or retired actually in Campbell River, she brought me all of her buckets just last month, asked me if I wanted them. I said, sure. So she gave them all to me. So now I have a ton of buckets because I had lots to begin with. But she had more than one size, so that was good. Okay, so that's what happens along here. Then I just have this container, which is full of miscellanea. It has my twine that I can pull out of here and cut to length. It's got some extra rolls of twine. It's got some heavier duty rope in case I need it. I've got a knife. I got a sponge. I've got an SOS pad. I've got a little container to hold the tops of pop cans and any other recyclable bits. Up against the wall, I have my roll of bouquet wrap. Now, for bouquet wrap, you don't need to have it on a stand. As long as it's up against a wall, you can just pull it and it'll pull out. And so I will pull it out across here. And here, let me just move this out of the way. I can pull it out here. Then I take my, I forgot what that thing's called, the L-shaped straight edge. And I can just put it down with the L along the straight, do approximately where the square is. I'm going to hold it down with my knee. And then just tear off a square like that. It's really easy. Works great. But you can see I already have one problem because I also keep my pop cans here that will have small flowers in them for filling, and sort of interferes with the bouquet wrap. But I tend to cut 20 at a time, so it's not a big interference. And then right beside that, you might recognize, beside the ball, you might recognize the little piece of burl here, and then I have a piece of cement board here, and that's my backdrop for a bouquet. So I've got my bouquet wraps down here, which is not where they were last year. They were actually here, just sitting on top of that. So I would make my bouquet here, grab a wrap, grab a piece of twine, tie it over here so all the wet stuff stays here. But before I tied it, actually what I would do is I would, sorry, I just did that really fast. I apologize for that. I would make my bouquet here. Then I would put it on here, take a photograph of it, and then I would wrap it here with the twine, and then I would put it into there. So, and I'm not moving around that much. It's just like I've got my feet right in the middle, and then I can step right to here, right to this table, and step right to this table. It's kind of like a perfect distance for doing all of this. And that worked great. However, there's a few things that I want to tweak on that. First and foremost, what happened, winter tires, what happened was later on in the summer, as the sun got lower in the sky as it passed here, it started shining in to about here. And that became a problem because then I couldn't keep any flowers here. But I couldn't bump them down here because that's where my roll of wrap is. So that I need to fix. Also, I didn't like this where it was kind of like double dutying, which was easy enough to do, but I was constantly having to move stuff to get it out of the way. So what I'm going to do for my new layout, as I back up, spin around here, you can see here I have two tables. I was earlier also having a few plots of trays of seedlings hardening off on this one too, but I don't need to do that anymore. So we're going to take this table and put it on the end here, and then relay this all out so that this doesn't need to come all the way out here. The bouquet wrap can actually come out this way. The photographing station will be in the middle, and we'll set it all up, and I'll spin you around and you can watch me set it up. I moved the table over off camera because it's way over there, and I would have been out of the camera anyway, and you would have just been staring at a blank spot. So I've lined it up at the corner of this. Now what I got to do is this is going to be what I rip the paper with. So I'm going to put that here for now. I need to slide the spot that I take the pictures with over. So we'll move that over. Grab my roll of paper. Put it up against the wall. Actually, I'm going to move this out of the way for now. Pull it out. I think what I would always do is just pull it out to the edge of the table, and then I can easily, well, I can't easily because this is going to hit the wall. Okay, well, that solves that problem. I can't go just to the edge of the table. I have to go farther. I will put marks how far to pull it out with painter's tape, and where I put this to go tear it with painter's tape as well. And then I can just have my bouquet making station picture taking fall and land on me. Clearly I didn't have that tipped enough. Okay, try that again. This is rolling a bit. I got to get it's rolling forward. So I got to get the table legs adjusted so that it's all nice and level so that doesn't roll away from the wall. Preferably maybe even lift it up a bit this way so that it definitely stays against the wall. And that is a problem of the floor in here because it's sloped. It slopes, well, it does slope this way, but must not slope this way over here. Anyway, that's beside the point. So then I'm just going to figure out where to put this, have my tapes on the table here and here, and then I can just come along, tear it, put it to the side, pull out the next one to the right spot, tear it, and so forth and so on. And then the other thing that I'm going to do different from last year is I kept my spare pop cans down here. I have two large totes down here that have all my little plant pots in it for when I'm starting seeds. Those are the two totes that I store them in to keep spiders and whatever else off of them. But I'm going to take the top of the one tote here. See, it's this kind of tote, like that. And I'm going to use it. I'm going to get Esri out of the way. When I have them all torn, to store my paper on. So it's right there. So I can tear it and put it down there once I have the stack torn. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to slide this closer down to the corner. It's shifted down because of the angle of the room. So that's why I have to get this all properly leveled out. I'm going to get my twine and have it here so that it stays and have a mark for the length of the twine with a pair of scissors over here. so that I can just cut it. I just kind of know that's the right length because I've been doing it so long. And then I have my twine ready to tie the bouquet as well. So it'll go the craft paper on the roll, the twine, the spot that I take the photographs with, and then this end is now blank. So that means everything that's on here can get shifted down. So the first thing we're going to shift down is my miscellaneous container of the pop cans that get their little tabs at the top. I pull them off before I use them for, oh, that reminds me, I actually have to keep this over here too. So I'm going to have this right at the end of the, overhanging a bit of the old fireplace mantle, which I use as a shelf. In here I have a container that I put the tabs from the top of the pop cans. I have twine for when I run out. I have heavier rope for if I need heavier rope. I have an SOS pad, which is what I use in my 1-gallon plant pots. A sponge, a grease pencil that I write on the plant pots. A knife, and I will probably have a screwdriver and a hammer in here once the station gets going. And that actually fits really nicely right into the corner there, which means what I'm going to do is slide my bouquet photographing station right up against it, which will give me a little bit more room on this side for the twine and the craft paper. So then, if that's right up against it, no, I don't want to overhang that. So that'll stay down on the end. This isn't going to give me a lot of space for pushing these things down, but it will give me a place where I can keep an extra bouquet here. We can move these down. And I actually now have, can you see from there? Let me just see if you can see where I'm at down on that end. Yeah, you can see where it ends. I'll just tip you around a bit. You can see I have pulled back this way a fair amount so that as the sun starts to lower in the sky in the late summer, that's not going to be as much of an issue. If I have to scoot it down more, I'll find out that's not going to be probably till August. But right now, I don't really like this one here. I'll just put it there. If I can get another piece of wood, I'm going to look for it that's the same height. And then I can scoot this down farther, which is actually what I want to do. So I'm going to look for another block of wood that's as high as this mantle, and that won't be hard to find because it's probably just like a 2x4 piece. And then I can get this other one here. So that is, I think, what I'm going to do. Have this level, scoot it down more, have that in the corner, photograph station, twine, wrapping paper, and clearly I can just put stuff on here if I want. And then before the sun drops in the sky, I can also actually just keep a few more containers for putting flowers in there. And yeah, so I'll take you off the stand, flip you around, and give you a closer look at how it's all laid out. Oh, by the way, before I forget, if you're enjoying this video, please give me a like, thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Thanks very much. I lied. I didn't spin you around. You know why? As I was getting ready to do that, it dawned on me. Whoops. This mantle really overhangs this table by quite a bit. I don't need to look for a piece of wood to put on the end there to hold up the pop cans. I just need to push the mantle down. So let's do that. Problem solved. Okay, now I'll spin you around. Hey, we're going to start back out here where the hardening off station is. We're going to walk in. We're going to see I've got I still got the rag down in here. Let's pull that out. That's supposed to be there. Drying my hands off, etc. if they get wet. I've got the cement mixer that I found down at the beach with the dogs for holding the slough. I've got 3 buckets that will have water in it that I carry around with me to cut the flowers out in the front and back. I've got price tag from Bouquets last year. I may go up to 25 this year. I don't know. I may not. One with the 2, one with the 1. They stay on the end. so that I have a nice big area here to make the bouquets. I've got my rag for drying my hands. Got to clean that because that was underneath this. Got my scissors. I got my pruners. I got my sweeper to keep this clean. I got lots of containers to hold flowers, and I can take these ones away when summer starts, so I'm further back in here. By the way, if you're wondering what's in behind that window in the garage, this was my clear coating station, which had to go on hold for the winter when the garage theirs got blown open by the storm and busted and had to get boarded up a bit. But it's not airtight, so I wasn't able to keep this garage section warm enough in the winter for clear coating. So that's going to be actually starting up again tomorrow. It's also because it was cooler but not freezing, and here's where I kept my garlic. There's still actually some garlic in here. So anyway, other winter tires up there for the other car. So just basically stuff. Normally there's a car parked in there in the winter. Okay, so yeah, put all the flowers in here. Then I've got my little holder and container with the pot cans in it. I've just got them every second one now, but realistically I can put in more cans. But I know that in the beginning I won't need all the holes filled until things start to really bloom like crazy, which, you know, I may need to have them filled right away. And I can get 12 in here versus right now I have only 6. There's my container with the extra twine, sponge, all that other kind of stuff. Here's where I take pictures of my bouquets. I'll put up a picture just so that you can see what that looks like. Then I have my twine, my scissors for cutting the twine. This actually needs to be a little bit away from the end so that my L square, that's what it's called, my square is able to sit up past it so that I can rip it. And then this table and that table for pulling out the craft paper, tearing it, and then I can store it here. And right now I've just got a few more milk jugs with their tops opened up for putting up here, or if somebody takes one, because they're allowed to take them. If they're traveling a long way, you want them to be, that's why I use these things and not just the water in the buckets, because if they're traveling a long way, they can take this with them and keep the bouquet in flowers. And yeah, so I'll just keep a few spare ones down there. Probably put something underneath here with the spare pop cans in it. And that's my setup. I'm really happy with that. And yeah, so wood stored up here. So that's my station. Really looking forward to using that this year. It's just tweaked a bit. It's pretty much the same thing. I've just given myself a little bit more room so that I can change how I do the tearing of the bouquet wraps, etc., and give myself a bit more room down here for holding flowers for the day for making bouquets. Hope you enjoyed this video. Now, talking about making bouquets in the bouquet making station. Oh, hang on, let me just flip you around. I decided when I flipped you around that I was going to do it over here because my giant Solomon seal is blooming, and I just think it's so pretty. Anyway, what I was going to say was, now that I've got my bouquet station all set up, if you're wondering what flowers I'm going to use to make bouquets through the season, you should check out the video that I'm going to put up here, which is my top 10 focal flowers, as well as the video that I'm going to put down here, which is my top 10 filler flowers. And they are the ones that I absolutely love using in bouquets. So if you haven't seen them already, check them out. And I'll see you next week. Bye.